At some point in life, many people wake up with a quiet but unsettling realization. They are functioning, productive, even admired, yet something feels hollow underneath. Decisions feel fragile. Confidence collapses easily. Praise feels addictive. Criticism feels devastating. And beneath it all is a question that rarely gets spoken out loud. Why don't I trust myself? This video is not about finding your passion or becoming more confident overnight. It is about something far deeper and more uncomfortable. It is about how people lose their inner authority, how that loss quietly shapes their relationships, careers, and mental health, and how it can be rebuilt later in life, even if it never fully formed in the beginning. Many people believe that self-doubt comes from failure or lack of talent. In reality, some of the most capable people struggle the most with trusting themselves. They succeed outwardly, but feel internally dependent. They scan the room before forming an opinion. They wait for approval before committing to a desire. They outsource their sense of worth to applause, numbers, titles, or other people's reactions. This doesn't happen because they are weak. It happens because they were never taught how to be internally grounded. To trust yourself, you need something called an inner verdict, an internal sense of what you are worth, what matters to you, and how you interpret your own experiences. Without that, life becomes a court trial that never ends. Every comment feels like a verdict. Every rejection feels like a sentence. Every compliment feels like temporary relief. When you lack an inner verdict, criticism does not just hurt, it defines you. Even when it is unfair or cruel, it slips inside because there is nothing solid to stop it. At the same time, praise becomes intoxicating. You don't enjoy it. You need it. You chase it. You adapt yourself to get more of it. You slowly shape your personality around what gets the best response. Over time, this creates a strange contradiction. You may look confident, ambitious, or even dominant, but internally you feel uncertain and hollow. Your identity shifts depending on who is watching. You don't know what you believe until you hear yourself say it out loud and see how others react. This is not a character flaw. It is a developmental injury. No one is born knowing who they are. Identity is not discovered in isolation. It is built through a process called emotional mirroring. Early in life, someone needs to notice us carefully, interpret us fairly, and reflect us back in a way that makes sense. Through this process, a child learns not only what they feel, but that their feelings are real, valid, and worth listening to. When a child is upset and someone responds with calm recognition, something powerful happens. The child learns that emotions are understandable and survivable. When a child reacts differently from expectations and is still accepted, they learn that they do not need to perform to be real. Over time, these small moments form the foundation of self-trust. But when this process is inconsistent, distorted, or absent, the consequences can last for decades. Some people grow up being misread. They are told they are happy when they are not, calm when they are anxious, strong when they are overwhelmed. Over time, they lose the ability to recognize their own inner signals. They doubt their feelings because their feelings were never confirmed. Others grow up being harshly interpreted. Their mistakes are framed as moral failures. Their emotions are treated as flaws. They learn that being themselves leads to rejection, so they become vigilant, self-critical, and approval-seeking. And some grow up emotionally unseen. No one is cruel, but no one is really paying attention either. The child learns that their inner world does not matter enough to be explored. This often leads to a subtle but painful sense of unreality, as if one is living slightly outside their own life. When identity formation is disrupted like this, the adult does not lack intelligence or ability. They lack internal permission. Permission to want what they want. Permission to say no without justification. permission to trust their own interpretations of events. This is why so many adults struggle with boundaries, people-pleasing, imposter syndrome, and chronic self-doubt. These are not random issues. They are symptoms of an undeveloped inner authority. The mistake many people make is trying to fix this at the surface level. They chase confidence techniques, productivity systems, or motivational content. These may help temporarily, but they do not address the core problem. You cannot optimize a self you do not yet trust. Rebuilding inner authority requires something more fundamental. It requires being properly known, often for the first time. This is where healing becomes relational again. The process that failed early in life cannot be fully repaired alone. It requires a safe but tuned other. This might be a therapist, a mentor, or in some cases, a deeply secure relationship. The role of this person is not to give advice or direction, but to observe carefully, reflect accurately, and validate honestly. Through this process, something shifts. You begin to recognize your own emotional patterns. You start noticing what drains you and what energizes you. You hear your own reactions without immediately correcting them. You learn to pause before overriding yourself. Slowly, an internal voice begins to form. At first, it is quiet and uncertain. It asks simple questions. Do I actually want this? Does this feel right to me? Am I agreeing out of fear or alignment? As this voice strengthens, external noise loses its grip. Praise becomes pleasant instead of necessary. Criticism becomes information instead of identity. You stop chasing every trend, opinion, or expectation, not because you are rebellious, but because you are anchored. This is when originality begins. True originality is not about being different on purpose. It emerges naturally when someone trusts their own perceptions enough to stand by them, when they are willing to be misunderstood, when they value internal coherence over external approval. This does not make life easier in every way. You may disappoint people. You may lose certain forms of validation. But what you gain is something far more stabilizing. A sense of internal companionship. The feeling that even when others disapprove, you are not alone with yourself. Learning to trust yourself is not about becoming invulnerable. It is about becoming less dependent, less reactive, less at the mercy of other people's moods and judgments. When you know who you are, you no longer need to ask the crowd for permission to exist. You are able to say no without explaining your entire history. You are able to say yes without apologizing. You are able to stand quietly in your own values even when they are unpopular. This is not confidence as performance. This is confidence as self-recognition. And perhaps most importantly, when you befriend yourself in this way, life becomes less frantic. You are no longer desperately chasing affirmation or fleeing disapproval. You become calmer, slower, more deliberate. You begin making choices that align with who you actually are, rather than who you were rewarded for being. This is the work of adulthood that rarely gets discussed. Not success, not achievement, but self-trust. The quiet, invisible foundation that makes everything else sustainable. If you feel lost, overly influenced, or chronically uncertain, it does not mean something is wrong with you. It may simply mean that the process of being truly known was interrupted. And the good news is this: it can be resumed. At any stage of life, you can begin learning the art of knowing and standing by yourself. And when you do, you will find that the world no longer defines you. It responds to you. And that changes everything.